And finally, friends, I we'll talk about some words in context of topic dialectic and critics. I mean, critics of dialectic, and of course, it is context of modern philosophy and modern philosophy. I mean, philosophy after Marx and Nietzsche. It's non-classical philosophy, first of course, anti-metaphysical philosophy. And usually when we talk about this perspective, usually we talk that all these branch in philosophy, in history of philosophy of modern period, usually realized its own tensions, its own visions and intuition, theory, ideas in conflict with Hegel. It's really so because Hegel it's like peak of all period of classical philosophy and development of all classical philosophy, like the absolute version and absolute form of development and expression all previous classical and we can say like synonymous metaphysical intention and potentiality of classical philosophy. It's mean that today and in modern philosophy, philosophy of Hegel, usually we accept like a absolute form of metaphysic. And in some moment, for example, when we talk about absolute spirit, phenomenology of the spirit and accent of these ideas, it's we can hear it like notions and words very close with the religion. Yes, in religion we find the God, the idea of the person of the God. In philosophy of Hegel, we find the spirit, absolute spirit, absolute knowledge, what it means. It's very strange. It's really so, and nevertheless, if we will talk about position Hegel and dialectical approach, not after Hegel, I mean dialectic, not according with the Marx, but the position of the Hegel, like Kant too, it is philosophy what define itself by conflict to metaphysics too. But nevertheless, it's not important for us today. But today we usually see on philosophy of Hegel and Kant, Fichte, and etc. All German classical philosophy like idealists, and that's why metaphysics. I will not argue that it is not so, and I will not argue that it's wrong or not wrong or right. I must talk only about really paradoxical situation because our modern antithesis to philosophy like Hegel and German classical philosophy branches and theories in philosophy, we find that all these theories have something with what they can't manage. And when I find this picture, it's a situation where here we find dialectic and it's critic. We usually think, yes, critic, it's more strong position, more concrete position. When we critic something, we will have a win. And when I saw this picture, I think, yes, okay, yes. It's so evidential that will be something what usually happen. But I remember what usually happened with our critique of Hegel and dialectic, but I usually find this. Of course, a joke. Of course, a joke. But if we will talk about this more concretely and without jokes, without humor, seriously, we must say that something in dialectical philosophy, something in philosophy of Hegel, something in logic, because leave logic, we find so what hold in itself something very, very essential. Very essential what need for understand the essence of, for example, Western philosophy. And I think that our critic of philosophy of Hegel and critic of dialectic usually have a situation that they can't have a good victory with this struggle. It's one side and it's one problem. Another problem for me, for example, consists in what? Usually, all who try to develop the philosophy of Hegel, who tried to develop this content like it was according with the position of Hegel, I find the very traditional problem of the all philosophy who try only develop, not deny, not negate, but develop without negation, without and etc. I find the style of dogmatism. I find features where dogmatism it is the main lack of all this rational thinking. It's really a problem, I think. And my thesis, according with to these problems, what I find when I try to search the dialectic and modern philosophy and try to clear the real essence of development, the history of philosophy. We all know that we can differently see these processes. Somebody say, oh, exists only one theory, for example, theory of Plato. And after that, we'll not something more, essentially, of course. Another will say that no, history of philosophy is plurality, so many theories, so many conflicts, theoretical conflicts. That's why we can't to understand the essential, what can unite it. But I stand on a position that something essential and something one exists in whole history of philosophy. It's my thesis. And my thesis, according with this, and according with this context about what I have told, about two aspects and two formulation, two problems, I must to say so. I think that both branch, both perspective need for us. But I think that two way of development philosophy in relation to dialectic and classical philosophy first, of course, it is held it differently. What I mean that all philosophers who try to negate, who want to have a conflict and radically negate all was what was in philosophy of Hegel and all classical philosophy. For me, it is philosophy who develop the center, this essential center of philosophy, what was catched by Hegel. But they not know about this. And a philosopher who tried to develop form, who tried to develop philosophy of Hegel, like a peak of development of classical philosophy. It is philosophy who hold tradition, but hold not by development, but hold by conservation. And for me, it's like synonymous process of degradation. That's why my main thesis consists in what? We must to hold open access to all negation, and we must to identify our thoughts with a modern tradition of branch of philosophy and try to find the essential moments what was developed in that theories, because it's moments, it is different aspects of the center heart of philosophy. Firstly, of course, I mean Western tradition, but it is, of course, not work only in Western tradition. It's my other thesis, of course. But if we want to understand what really happened here, if we want to express the essence, something one, what exists in history of philosophy, we must return to the form of dialectic, but not return only. It must be like challenge for dialectic, because the honest, right, like ambition of dialectic so high that we must again and again repeat this challenge for dialectic. And all these theories what negate dialectic, it is all theory what we must to take in essential center. Only by that we can verify it. Dialectic can work or not. Dialectic hold this ambitious, this claim or not. And only by this we can really realize the honest way of researching and develop the science of the philosophy. And I hope it will be our future, not only maybe in Russia, but in world philosophy too. And finally, for the beginning, next step in our researches maybe, I will citate, quote you, show you quote of Merleau-Ponty from his work Sense and Nonsense, and it was extract me by from work of Decombe, chapter Humanization of Negation. And I will translate these texts absolutely by main by different main aspect of this quote. Quote. What I mean? The Merleau-Ponty write what? Hegel stay before all in the ground, in the center, all the greatest what happened in philosophy of all 20th century, final century, yes. For example, Marxism, Nietzsche, phenomenology, he write, and German existentialism and psychoanalysis. He firstly, why? And he answered to this question, because he firstly tried to research irrational and included to more wide version of the reason. That's why the study of this task the study of this reason and this theory, it is task for us today. And if we want to have a help, if we want to have a goal, healthy goal, to accept the truth, independent of any theories what we hold, we must hold the goal to new classicism and organical civilization. We must, if we hold this goal in our hearts, we must, in sphere of culture, to help go and fast go. It's very, very need for us. It is transform. It's about what I have told. Transform, return all this doctrine to the Hegelian beginning. It's the beginning about what I have told. The Hegel catch something central in philosophy. What is? We don't know, but we must try understand it, and we can do it only by modern philosophers, modern doctrines. That's why it's very important for us today. Alpha, all this doctrine, I continue and complete the quote, a quotation. Alpha, all this doctrine try to forget these start and the ground of itself, this beginning and cause itself. It is thesis of Merleau-Ponty, and I think it is very, very essential thesis, and it is my vision. Maybe not in all moments, but in common, in main elements. That's all, and I hope that all this course was in main elements was interesting for you. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.